Every single weekday morning, thousands of regular people holding coffee cups, wearing lanyards, carrying briefcases, they board a fleet of Boeing 737s in Las Vegas.
Yeah, just totally normal commute stuff.
Right. They sit through the standard safety demonstrations, they complain about the turbulence, and they fly out into the Nevada desert to clock in at a place that, officially speaking, just does not exist.
I mean, it completely shatters that whole Hollywood image, you know? The lone, mysterious man in black vanishing into the shadows.
Totally. We like our mysteries to operate outside the mundane rules of reality. We want them to be, like, entirely untethered from things like morning commutes and corporate supply chains.
But the real world is definitely tethered to those things.
Exactly. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking the world's most famous sci-fi legends, places like Area 51, the rumored Dulce Base, and these supposed secret underground alien cities, and we are putting them under a ruthless scientific microscope for you.
And we're not just looking at blurry photos of lights in the sky today.
No, definitely not. But the foundation for our exploration today is this incredible forensic audit. It was compiled by a professional geologist and an investigative researcher who basically decided to treat the Nevada desert floor like a cold case.
That was such a fascinating analytical framework.
It really is. The mission here is to audit the mass balance and the metabolic footprint of the city-sized secret base.
Let's actually break down those terms right up front because they are the key to this entire audit. So a metabolic footprint.
Which sounds like a biology term.
Yeah, it does. But here it refers to the resources a facility consumes and excretes just to stay alive. So water, electricity, waste disposal.
Human calories.
Exactly, human calories. And then mass balance is essentially the ultimate accounting rule of physics. It dictates that whatever matter goes into a closed system must equal whatever comes out.
Right.
You can classify a document and you can redact a budget, but you cannot classify a thermodynamic equation.
I love that concept so much. Mass balance just means you can't cheat the physical universe. If you are running a massive industrial complex, it is bound by the exact same boring, heavy, dirty rules of physics as, like, a car manufacturing plant.
Or a copper mine.
Right. So let's apply that rule to the most basic requirement of any massive operation, which is the workforce.
Yeah, you simply cannot build and run a sprawling, top-secret industrial base without an army of people.
But for decades, the lore has relied on this ghost worker myth, right? The idea that 50,000 brilliant minds just live off the grid in the desert, completely untethered from society.
And when you apply a logistical audit to that idea, the ghost worker myth just completely evaporates.
Yeah.
A human workforce leaves an unavoidable trail.
Because they require food, sewage processing, medical care, housing.
Absolutely. If they were living out there permanently, you would see the metabolic footprint of a mid-sized city. But instead, the audit points us to a very real, very trackable entity known as the Janet airline.
Right, the Janet airline. I looked into the numbers on this Janet fleet, and it completely reframes the scale of the whole mystery.
It really does.
These are unmarked white Boeing 737s. They just have a single red stripe down the side.
Yeah.
And they operate out of a private terminal at Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas, which, by the way, is one of the busiest, most heavily surveilled commercial airports on the planet.
Hiding in plain sight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the contractors flying on these planes, they work for major publicly traded companies. People like AECOM and Lockheed Martin.
They aren't ghosts.
No. They are aerospace engineers, cafeteria workers, security guards, janitors, people who pay taxes and have, like, dental plans.
And this is where the math becomes incredibly unforgiving for the conspiracy theories. The existence of the Janet fleet provides a hard, verifiable data point.
The passenger capacity.
Right. We know the passenger capacity of a standard Boeing 737 is roughly 140 to 150 people. And we can publicly track the flight frequency of this specific fleet every single day.
So it's just basic multiplication.
Exactly. When you multiply the capacity by the frequency, you establish a mathematical ceiling on the workforce.
It's a massive bottleneck. Okay, let's unpack this. Trying to hide a workforce of tens of thousands is like trying to hide the daily commute of a packed sports stadium.
It's impossible.
You can paint the buses white and black out the windows, but you cannot hide the miles-long traffic jam.
Yeah.
If your aerial driveway only accommodates, 6 or 737 flights a day, you literally cannot have 50,000 people working at that base.
Yeah.
The logistics cap the population at a few thousand personnel at any given time.
And that limitation is crucial. I mean, the government can absolutely hide the specifics of the experimental aircraft those people are building.
Sure.
But they cannot hide the commute. Human beings take up space and they weigh a specific amount. The logistics are entirely transparent if you just look at the supply chain instead of the rumors.
Okay, so we have a firm mathematical cap on the number of people arriving on these surface runways. And that spatial reality is exactly what birthed the next massive piece of the mythology.
The underground cities.
Right. Because surface-level hangars don't look big enough to house this sprawling alien metropolis infrastructure, the lore insists the workers take an elevator down.
Yeah, famous multi-level underground bases.
We hear endless stories about the Dulce Wars and these massive subterranean facilities extending 7, 8, or even 9 levels deep into the earth.
It's a cornerstone of the mythology. I mean, it's an elegant narrative solution for hiding a massive footprint. But the forensic audit absolutely obliterates this concept using what they term the tailings paradox.
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Think about the basic physics of digging. If I decide to carve out a giant basement under my house, I am inevitably left with a mountain of dirt in my front yard that I have to pay someone to haul away.
You can't just wish the dirt into another dimension. And that is the mass balance rule in action. To hollow out a multi-level subterranean city capable of housing aircraft and laboratories, you are displacing an astronomical volume of Earth.
Millions of tons, right?
Millions of tons of what geologists call tailings. Solid rock does not compress, and it certainly does not vaporize. It has to be moved and dumped somewhere.
And if you are trying to hide a top-secret base, dumping a mountain of rock in the middle of a flat desert seems like, well, a terrible strategy. Imagine you are an adversary looking at Google Earth. You're going to notice a brand new mountain.
Oh, it goes far beyond just noticing a pile of dirt. The audit details how modern satellite surveillance actually works. Because we aren't just looking at black and white photographs anymore.
We use multispectral imaging now.
Right, exactly. These satellites measure the specific wavelengths of light reflecting off the Earth's surface. The natural desert floor is sun-baked, oxidized, and weathered over millennia.
It's got that crust.
Yeah, so it has a very specific spectral signature.
So if you drag millions of tons of subterranean rock up to the surface, it's going to look completely different to the sensors.
It would be a glaring anomaly. Fresh, unweathered stone excavated from deep underground has a drastically different mineral composition, moisture content, and albedo.
Albedo is like how much light it reflects.
Yes, exactly. To a multispectral satellite, a fresh tailings pile of that magnitude would shine like a neon sign against the oxidized desert crust. You just cannot camouflage millions of tons of fresh geological displacement.
And the audit confirmed there's nothing like that.
The audit confirms there is simply no such spectral scar at Dulce or Groom Lake. No tailings mountain definitively means no massive underground excavation.
Wow. So the desert floor is literally providing an alibi.
It really is.
But the audit actually goes even further into the geology. It looks at the structural possibility of the Earth in that specific region, even holding up a subterranean city. I dug into the soil reports they referenced, and the local geology in that area of Nevada and New Mexico consists largely of soft sedimentary sandstone.
Which, introduces a catastrophic engineering problem. Sandstone is essentially ancient sand dunes that have been compressed and glued together over millions of years.
So it's not exactly strong.
No, it is highly porous and has terrible tensile strength. It lacks the interlocking crystalline structure of something like solid granite.
Meaning if you try to hollow out a cavern the size of an aircraft hangar, the ceiling has to act as a bridge, spanning that empty space.
And sandstone cannot do that.
Right, it would just shear and cave in under the staggering weight of the mesa above it.
Exactly. Without constant, massive concrete reinforcement or a dense forest of colossal support pillars, a multi-level facility in sandstone is a physical impossibility. The Earth would reclaim that space instantly.
And bring it back to our mass balance rule. If you are pouring the millions of tons of concrete required to stabilize a 7-level sandstone cavern, where is the supply chain?
You'd see it everywhere.
Yeah. You would need a fleet of concrete trucks that would dwarf the Janet airline. You would need massive on-site batch plants. You would need an industrial water pipeline running through one of the driest deserts in North America just to mix the cement.
The infrastructure required simply to keep the roof from caving in would be visible from space.
So the systems are entirely interconnected. The underground base cannot exist without generating tailings, and it cannot survive structurally in sandstone without a highly visible, incredibly resource-heavy concrete supply chain.
The audit basically proves the subterranean metropolis is a structural, geological, and logistical fiction.
Okay, so we've mathematically constrained the workforce to commercial flight capacities. We've proven the facility has to be on the surface because the tailings are missing and the sandstone would collapse.
Right.
So we are looking at standard surface-level hangars. But what are the engineers actually building inside those hangars?
Now we get to the really good stuff.
Yeah, this is where the audit shifts from geology to physics to tackle the absolute holy grail of mythology.
We are talking about the propulsion claims. The lore, which was popularized heavily by figures like Bob Lazar, insists that the military isn't just building advanced jets.
No, the story is that they possess recovered extraterrestrial craft and they are back engineering them.
And the linchpin of this entire theory is a super heavy, stable, anti-gravity fuel known as element 115.
I find this part so fascinating because element 115 used to be purely theoretical when these rumors started in the late 80s. But today it's a real thing. It sits right there on the periodic table.
It does.
Scientists officially synthesized it in 2003, and it's called moscovium. So on the surface, that sounds like a massive victory for the conspiracy theorists. They named the fuel, and decades later, science proved it exists.
It seems like validation until you actually look at the physics of how super heavy elements behave. The reality of moscovium is the exact opposite of a stable, infinite energy source.
Why is that?
To understand why, you have to look at the strong nuclear force. An atom of element 115 has 115 protons crammed into its nucleus. Protons have a positive electrical charge, and positive charges violently repel each other.
Oh, like trying to push the wrong ends of two magnets together.
Exactly. The strong nuclear force is the glue trying to hold that nucleus together against this massive electromagnetic repulsion. But in super heavy elements, the nucleus is simply too large and too crowded.
It can't hold on.
Right. The electrostatic repulsion overwhelms the binding energy. Because of this, moscovium is profoundly unstable. Its most stable known isotope has a half-life of 0.65 seconds.
Wait, really? Less than a single second?
Less than a second.
So in the time it takes you to blink, half of the fuel has already decayed into lighter elements, releasing radiation.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't exactly stockpile something that vanishes faster than a camera shutter clicks. It's impossible to build an engine around a fuel that refuses to exist.
As the thermodynamic audit states, moscovium is a nuclear artifact. It is a fleeting, momentary result of a high-energy collision in a laboratory. It is mathematically incapable of serving as a stable fuel source for interstellar travel, or any travel for that matter.
Okay, now I want to push back on this, because the lore is highly adaptable, right? Whenever science presents a hurdle, the mythology evolves a workaround.
Naturally.
A popular theory suggests that the spacecraft doesn't carry a tank of stable element 115. Instead, it synthesizes the element internally, on demand, as it flies.
Oh, right.
Think of it like a car forging its own gasoline while driving down the highway. You manufacture the moscovium, harness the anti-gravity effect before it decays in half a second, and immediately synthesize the next batch.
It is a highly creative thought experiment, I'll give them that, but this is where the thermodynamic audit firmly shuts the door again.
Because of the energy it takes to make it.
Exactly. We have to look at the energy equation of how you actually make moscovium. You don't just mix chemicals in a beaker, you require a particle accelerator.
Which are usually massive.
Stadium-sized. Scientists synthesize element 115 by using massive electromagnets to accelerate a beam of calcium ions to roughly 10% the speed of light.
Wow.
And then they smash them into a target of radioactive americium.
So you would essentially need to cram a multi-billion-dollar power-hungry particle accelerator inside the engine of the ship.
And that introduces a fatal thermodynamic deficit. Powering those electromagnets to accelerate particles to relativistic speeds requires megawatts of grid power.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, the energy required just to force those atoms to fuse and create a few fleeting atoms of moscovium is astronomically higher than any usable energy an anti-gravity drive could ever theoretically extract from it.
It's an energy black hole.
Yeah.
You'd be spending $1,000 in electricity to manufacture a single penny of thrust. The engine would consume itself instantly.
It violates the fundamental laws of thermodynamics. You cannot operate a closed system at a massive continuous energy loss. The physics audit is just as unforgiving as the geological one.
So the fuel doesn't exist in a stable form in nature, and synthesizing it on the fly is a thermodynamic impossibility.
Precisely.
So let's step back and look at the mass balance of this entire legend. We've stripped away the magic and audited the components.
And what do we have left?
Well, we have no invisible ghost workers, just defense contractors drinking coffee on commercial 737 flights.
Jack.
We have no subterranean alien cities because multispectral satellites see no tailings, and the sandstone geology would collapse without a concrete supply chain we can't find.
Jack.
And we have no super heavy anti-gravity fuel because Moscovium rips itself apart in less than a second, and creating it on demand breaks the laws of thermodynamics.
When you peel back the science fiction, what you are left with is a highly secure, entirely terrestrial research and development facility.
Right.
The people working there are focusing on the very real, very complex physics of radar cross-sections, stealth geometry, and advanced aerospace engineering. They are building the next generation of military aircraft, bound by the exact same physical laws as the rest of us.
Just brilliant human beings building really fast, really stealthy machines on the surface of the Nevada desert.
Exactly.
But that leaves a massive glaring question. If this is just standard, albeit highly classified military R&D, why does the government lean into the crazy?
It's a great question.
Why let the alien rumors run wild for decades? Why not just hold a press conference and say, hey everyone, it's just experimental airplanes?
Because the alien label is a brilliant, deliberate smokescreen. If you analyze it purely from a counterintelligence perspective, it is a masterclass in misdirection.
Oh, wow.
The military is perfectly happy to let the public, the media, and foreign adversaries look up at a strange, glowing exhaust plume in the night sky and immediately think extraterrestrials.
Right, because if you're arguing in an internet forum about whether the lights are from Zeta Reticuli, you aren't filing Freedom of Information Act requests about the heat signature of $1 trillion stealth drone prototype.
It is the most cost-effective public relations strategy in the world. Acknowledging $1 trillion terrestrial aerospace program invites immediate congressional oversight, budget audits, and highly targeted espionage from rival nations.
That makes total sense.
Letting a sci-fi myth flourish provides an automatic, self-sustaining layer of camouflage. The conspiracy theorists are unwittingly doing the counterintelligence work for the Pentagon, guarding the facility with fantastical stories instead of bullets.
That is such a wild realization. The rocks don't lie. The thermodynamics don't lie. The actual frontier of aerospace technology is incredibly fascinating. If the greatest government cover-up of the last century isn't actually hiding the truth, but actively encouraging a wild sci-fi myth to protect something mundane, it changes how you have to look at the world.
Oh, absolutely.
What other popular internet mysteries, viral rumors, or modern conspiracies are actually just free, highly effective PR for something entirely ordinary? Misinformation might just be the cheapest, most impenetrable security system ever invented. Think about that the next time you find yourself falling down a rabbit hole online.
It's a vital analytical framework. When you encounter a spectacular claim, don't just look for the magic. Audit the reality. Look for the logistics. Calculate the supply chains. Ask where the literal and metaphorical dirt is going.
Look for the traffic jam.
Yeah.
Remember, you can black out the windows on the buses, but you can never hide the 737s. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive as we stripped away the sci-fi and audited the cold, hard mass balance of the desert. Keep questioning the world around you. Always look for the metabolic footprint, and we will see you for our next exploration.
Subscribe and follow us here at the Curiously Expert Series podcast for more forensic audits, and we look forward to sharing more deep dives with you soon.